for the EMTs and paramedics, it means the hundreds and hundreds of ambulances we brought in from outside, and more and more EMTs and paramedics will get to the
big time oops moment for one reporter. Somehow, during the midst of a DIY segment on cutting your own bangs, she didn't realize her naked husband was in the shower behind her.
Sacramento TV reporter Melinda Meza is reporting from her bathroom. Her story, how to cut your hair all by yourself.
So people won't have to do this much longer.
But unbeknownst to her, there's somebody else in the shot. It's her husband, and he's taking a shower. There's his reflection in the mirror. Oops. The perils of reporting from home.
In Stockton, Melinda Meza, KCRA 3 News.
And Anderson Cooper also suffered a major quarantine fail after cutting his own hair.
Last night, I took a razor and buzzed my head, and I gave myself a giant bald spot.
Check out that big hole on the CNN anchor's noggin.
I just have to be seen only this way, because as soon as it all gives it away.
Hello everyone. Today we're going to be looking at a Bluetooth speaker from Harman Kardon. If you've seen a review of this speaker before and you just want to hear the sound quality, then just go ahead and skip to the time signature on the screen. Okay, before we get started, I'd like to disclose that this video is not sponsored. I purchased the speaker at full price to get you this review, so my thoughts and opinions are entirely personal. And with that out of the way, let's get started. Okay, in the box you get 4 regional power cords, of course the US and the UK included, a quick start guide, safety and warranty sheet, and then the Bluetooth speaker. And at the time of recording this video, this whole unit will cost you about £249 in the UK. I suggest you check the links in the description to compare the prices just in case if they have changed. Also, I'd like to point out that this speaker should not be mistaken for its older version, the Aura Plus, which costs significantly more. I'll highlight the differences later on in this video, so stay tuned. The speaker itself weighs about 2.5 kilograms, so to me, I feel it's quite lightweight and easy to move around, and it's actually not as big as I originally thought it was. From the images that I've seen previously, I thought it was going to be much bigger, but surprisingly, it's actually a lot smaller and compact, and for me, I really like the size. Okay, let's take a look at the features. The first thing that makes this speaker to really stand out is the transparent dome. At first I wondered if it was glass, but having touched it now, I can tell you that it is not made of glass, but it feels more like a hard plastic. I'm not sure how durable it is, so just take precaution. Right at the top you have a reflex port for moving air, and this helps with the bass response of the speaker. Now the speaker doesn't have any passive radiators like you would find on most recent Bluetooth speakers. So during the sound quality test, we're going to find out how good the bass is. The controls of this speaker are located right around this strip, and all the buttons are completely touch responsive. Moving along the right side of the logo, you have the volume up and down buttons. Next, you have the call button for taking calls when you're connected to your phone. Then you have the Bluetooth button, the power button, and over on this side, you have the LED button for switching the ambient lights on and off. And over on the back side, you have an auxiliary port for connecting pretty much any other device with a 3.5mm headphone out. So things like your TV, your desktop PC, and even an Amazon Echo Dot, you can connect it via the auxiliary port. And then next to it, you have a micro USB for updating the firmware. And lastly, you have the power ports for connecting your power brick. Under this fabric, you have 6 1.5-inch high to mid-range transducers, which are spaced right around this region to help it create this 360 effect. And right underneath the speaker, you have a 4.5-inch down-facing subwoofer. Let's go ahead and switch this thing on. And to do that, you just need to tap and hold the power button for a few seconds, and as soon as it comes on, the first thing you notice is this ambient light and how it reflects all around the dome. I think I really like this effect. I'm sure it's going to look really great in low light. We're going to have a look at that later on in the sound quality test. Okay, now let's get this paired up with a phone. Pairing is quite easy. You just need to tap on the Bluetooth button on the speaker, and then you can search and connect to it on your phone. Okay, now before we do the sound test, I would like to touch on the LED ring light. Now, the cool thing with this light is whenever you turn up the volume, either from the speaker itself or from your phone, the ring light kinda animates to give you an indication of your volume level. It's not major, but I think it's a really good idea and I really like it. Okay, I'm done talking for this speaker. I'm gonna let it do the talking. It's time for the sound quality test, so put on your headphones for the best experience. And after the test, I would give my thoughts and comment on a few things. Okay. Vocals were very clear and crisp and pushed right to the front, and they don't sound muffled at all. The highs and mids were well balanced, and the speaker does a good job to accentuate musical instruments like guitars and percussions, which adds a lot of richness and depth to the music. In terms of loudness, the speaker can really go loud. At the maximum volume, the music remains intact. The bass was not distorting. However, depending on the song that you're playing, at the maximum volume I could hear some vibrations coming from the body of the speaker. I'm not sure why that was happening, but it seems to me that it was because of the surface that I placed the speaker on. So I moved it to a more sturdy surface and the vibrations were gone. So if you plan to jam this speaker at maximum volume, I suggest you isolate it from things that can easily flutter and vibrate, and put it on a very firm table with even surface. Now, before I give my recommendations, there are a few things I don't like about the Aura. And first is that the speaker is not portable. It is classed as a home speaker, so a lack of internal batteries will mean that you will always need the power brick in order to run the speaker. Now, this might not be a huge deal at first, but because of how cool this speaker looks, I kind of always wanted to sit on a table right in the center of the room. But having this power cable running from the back will almost force you to have this up against the wall in order to get the cables out of the way. And as a result of that, you don't fully enjoy the 360 experience. And the second thing is the power saving mode. Now, this speaker will completely power off after 30 minutes of no activity, and you will have to physically push the button to have it come back on again. Now, I personally think that time is quite short considering it doesn't have any internal batteries and there isn't any option to increase the timing if you wish to. So again, that's a personal thing that I've observed, and let me know what you think. Okay, for those of you that would go out to pick this speaker up, like I previously mentioned, there are other versions that are very identical to the Aura Studio 2. So here are some differences. The Aura Studio 2 has Bluetooth only, but the Aura Plus has built-in Wi-Fi, and it's able to connect via Apple AirPlay and costs significantly more. And the second difference is, at the time of this video, the Aura Studio 2 is the only one that has the ambient lighting. The others only have the ring light at the top of the turbine. Okay, now the third and major difference is the Aura Studio 2 has the ability to be paired up with a second one. So you can have a stereo sound, or you can create a wider 360 effect, or have the speaker spaced out across your home. Okay, so would I recommend this speaker to anyone? And I would say yes. I would definitely recommend this, despite all the things that I have mentioned. One is because of the very unique design. I mean, there's really no other speaker that looks like it on the market today. And the second thing is because of the very surprising sound. I never thought that such sound could come out of a speaker that looks like this. Now, for £250, I think it's a bit on the pricey side. But if you decide to get this speaker, then you're not just paying for yet another Bluetooth speaker. You're paying for a very unique design. And also you're paying for a great product from a well-established company. Again, I wasn't sponsored to make this video. And that's it, guys. I'd like to know what you think about this speaker. Would you consider buying one? Or if you currently own one, let me know your experiences. Or if you have any questions about this speaker, please drop me a comment. And also, if there's any speaker you would like me to test, please let me know in the comment section. And if you like this video, then please hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon so you know when I upload anything new. And until next time, my name is Onyi with OCman Media, and I will see you in the next video.
Halo semuanya, kembali lagi di vlog Ridwan Hanif. Ya, tadinya gue nggak mau bikin vlog tentang ini. Cuman, karena banyak banget yang komen, bilang kalau misalnya gue lagi foto di Instagram, bilangnya salvok ke Harman Kardon Aura Studio dan kawan-kawannya. Ya, jadi...
When you're waiting in a long grocery store line, you probably think it would be quite refreshing to live in an abandoned city.
This is one of the most rarest abandoned places in the world.
After all, you would get to avoid being stuck in traffic. That could be a reality sooner than you think. From a Californian town frozen in time to a ghost town in a forbidden zone, here are 15 of the... When you're waiting in a long grocery store line, you probably think it would be quite refreshing. Stays are available. Number 11, Akermara. Around 4 in an abandoned city.
This is one of the most rarest abandoned places in the world.
After all, you would get to avoid being stuck in traffic. That could be a reality sooner than you think. From a Californian town frozen in time to a ghost town in a forbidden zone, here are 15 of the largest abandoned cities in the world. Before we begin, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell for more amazing videos every day. That being said, let's begin. Number 15, Ordos City. Think about the last time you drove through your town or city in the dead of night. The streets were quiet, no one was around, and shops lacked the hive of activity they usually see during the day. Now imagine that during the day. That's what people can expect when they visit Kangbashi, a town south of Ordos in Inner Mongolia. The quiet, nearly empty town spanned 137 miles and was built in the early 2000s to house over 1 million residents. Even though it cost over $1 billion to accommodate a significant number of people, it's home to just 1/10 the population it is supposed to cater to. According to those who visit Kangbashi, the town has a post-apocalyptic feel. Vacant high-rise buildings, half-finished projects, and empty streets are what face those who wander through the township. However, you can't help but wonder if the people who do live there find it to be a breath of fresh air compared to the overcrowded, noisy cities and towns nearby. Is it abandoned or merely a paradise for those who want to escape? Number 14. Hashima. Hashima, or Battleship Island, sits off the coast of Nagasaki and has been a ghost town for more than 40 years. With its 10-story apartment buildings, courtyards, corridors, restaurants, and schools, it might seem strange to think that no one lives there. But no one probably should have lived there in the first place. In the early 1900s, the Mitsubishi Corporation believed that the island was sitting on top of a coal deposit. For the next century, workers harvested coal under the seabed, with around 400,000 tons leaving the area every year. Most of the workers in the mine were forced laborers from Korea. While they worked on Nagasaki, which was around 0.3 square miles, they created a city around the mine site to live. The apartments were built on rocks and were linked together with corridors and stairs. By the 1950s, around 6,000 people called it home until the coal ran out. Once Mitsubishi closed the mine, the city was left abandoned. It was closed to visitors from 1974 until 2009, but was approved for organized tours since then. Number 13. Bodie. Bodie is a dusty, decrepit old town around 13 miles off State Highway 395 in California. To look at it today, you would think it's ripe for demolition, but this township looks exactly as it did in the 1800s and 1900s, and that's how the California state wants to keep it. Bodie is a state historic park that is preserved in its current condition by California State Parks. The goal is to maintain the buildings in their 1880s condition, but not improve them. So why is Bodie abandoned and now only kept busy by tourists passing through? In 1859, gold was discovered nearby, and a mill was established just 2 years later. Before long, the township grew from a population of 20 miners to 10,000 people by 1880. Saloons, brothels, gambling halls, opium dens, houses, and more all popped up in a short space of time, all catering to the gold miners who flooded the area in search of that mega haul of gold. Families, store owners, prostitutes, and people from all walks of life and all different countries decided to call Bodie home. However, when the gold dried up, so did the industry. As quickly as they arrived, everyone left in search of the next sure thing. Now, anyone can drive to Bodie and get a feel for what life was like back in the 1800s. A slow, bumpy, and dusty road leads to the township, with equally dusty homesteads and structures positioned along the main stretch. While it is abandoned, Bodie is still worth a visit. Number 12. Pyramidin. Pyramidin is an abandoned Russian mining village on an island that's only accessible by sea or snowmobile. It's positioned on the archipelago of Svalbard, which sits above the Arctic Circle of Norway. While its location is reason enough not to want to live there, it's hard to believe that people once did. Pyramidin was a thriving community back in the early 1900s when Swedes founded it in 1910. The Soviet Union purchased it in 1927, and it was mined for the next 7 decades for its coal deposits. Towering apartment blocks and public buildings sit facing each other in a neat circle, and there's even a statue of Vladimir Lenin looking over the town structures. While once thriving, Pyramidin fell silent in the late 1990s. In just a few months, once whispers of closure became more than just rumors. Everyone had left. Now, Pyramidin is owned and operated by seals, seabirds, wildlife, and, now and again, a rogue polar bear. Fortunately, keen explorers are still able to visit Pyramidin if they wish. Organized tours for day trips and overnight stays are available. Number 11. Akermara. Around 40,000 people used to live in Akermara, Georgia, but if you happen to visit the township, you'll only find visitors like yourself and few actual residents. Akermara used to be a mining town, but the unprofitability of the coal industry took its toll. With the end of the USSR around the same time, resident numbers dwindled and mines shut down. By the 1990s, the siege of Tvarkeli caused Akermara to be cut off from the rest of Abkhazia for over 400 days, which meant supplies had to be helicoptered in. That spelled the beginning of the end for the once thriving township. While tens of thousands of people used to live here, now mere hundreds do. 4- and 5-story apartments now only have 1 or 2 families living in them, and the town is slowly disintegrating. There's been talk of Akrmara becoming a resort town, but the chances of getting funded to make it happen are low. Therefore, tourists visit to take a look around, view the mines, then head back to Abkhazia. For now, it remains a unique location for tourists, but not somewhere you'd be likely to lay down roots. Number 10. Butuan. It's amazing how quickly things can change in a short space of time. Just think how long your lawns grow when you head away on vacation. Then imagine what can happen with a 10 or 20-year gap in maintenance. Butuan is proof of just how quickly nature can take over. Butuan was once a thriving fishing village on Shengshan Island off China's east coast. It used to be home to around 3,000 people, but it was always quite hard to access and exceptionally remote. These 2 factors meant that more and more people started leaving. By 2002, it was completely depopulated and merged with a neighboring village. Within decades, the empty houses within the village started to be taken over by nature. Climbing plants covered facades, and blankets of bushes swallowed fully furnished homes. Most people would remain oblivious to this island's existence if it weren't for photos taken in 2015. Once those photos hit the internet, people were chomping at the bit to pay a visit. A Shanshan Island representative, Chen Bo, said telephone lines were jammed and Butuan wasn't equipped to open to tourists. Chen said, "We urge visitors to preserve its tranquility for now." So it looks like you won't get to see this village anytime soon. Number 9. Coleman's Cop. The name Zacharias Luala may not mean much to most people, but he's the reason why the township of Coleman's Cop in southern Africa's Namib Desert came to exist, even if it no longer does. Zacharias was a railway worker who was clearing sand from the railroad tracks in 1908 when he stumbled across diamonds. His employer did not reward him for the find, but the discovery set off a massive diamond mining operation. By 1912, Coleman's Cop had produced millions of carats annually, which equated to a little under 12% of the world's diamond production. Before long, this barren desert became a thriving town. It had a post office, ice factory, a butcher and baker, and families were moving to the area in search of riches. However, German authorities wanted more control over the diamonds and reserved rights for prospecting to one company. Laborers were employed and forced to live in cramped conditions for months. By the 1930s, however, the area was nearly depleted of diamonds. As quickly as it had been established, the town was left abandoned. By 1956, once pristine homes were lying in ruins, covered in sand, and waiting for nature to claim them. Number 8. Goldfield. While Goldfield in Nevada is not entirely abandoned, it's pretty close. It was established in the early 1900s as a gold mining town, like a gazillion others, and was home to thousands of people who were on the hunt for that big payday. Within 2 years, the local mines were producing $2 million worth of ore, or 30% of all ore produced in California at the time. Once the gold rush was over, most of those who called Goldfield home left. Today, around 200 people remain, catering for the many thousands of visitors who want to see what an abandoned gold mining town looks like. Gold mining is, oddly enough, still ongoing in the area, but not to the same extent. Most of the buildings lie abandoned, and there isn't even a gas station. Given the state of the abandoned cars, there's likely no need for one either. But if you do happen to visit Goldfield, there will be somewhere for you to stay. The Santa Fe Motel and Saloon underwent a complete renovation to provide accommodation for anyone passing through. Some people have also been thinking about renovating their buildings and opening up shop. For now, though, it remains a near completely abandoned town. Number 7. Calico. Calico was a once thriving town in California with 500 silver mines. It roared to life in 1881 with California's silver strike and produced around $20 million of silver ore in just 12 years. However, just a few short years later, the value of silver plummeted and Calico became a ghost town. After all, there was no reason for its residents to hang around when their livelihood had been destroyed. By the 1950s, a man called Walter Knott purchased the township, because that's what you do when you're rich, you buy towns. Schitt's Creek, anyone? He restored the majority of the buildings to look as they did back in the 1880s and created a tourist attraction in the process. Calico then became a state historical landmark. Now, it forms part of the San Bernardino County Regional Park System and sees thousands of tourists annually. It has shops, camping and outdoor facilities, and restaurants too. If you happen to be passing through, it is well worth paying a visit to this abandoned town. Its natural beauty and historical significance will blow you away. Number 6. Krakow. If you've seen James Bond Quantum of Solace, Passion of the Christ with Mel Gibson, and Saving Grace, then you will have likely seen Krakow. Krakow is a town in southern Italy that has been abandoned for over 5 decades. Krakow has been a town since as early as 1060 AD, with many of its buildings dating back to medieval times. In 1277, it was home to about 2,500 people and maintained a consistent population of about 1,500 for every century since. However, a plague in 1656 saw the population drop dramatically before poor agricultural conditions saw it plummet even further. By the 1950s, natural disasters, poor soil, and unstable terrain meant that Krakow was no longer fit for people to live there. By 1963, the remaining 1,800 people who called Krakow home were relocated to a new town called Krakow Peschiera nearby. They lived in barracks and tent cities until more suitable housing options were arranged. Today, Krakow is abandoned, overgrown, and only accessible by tourists on an organized tour. However, tourism has seen funding become available to maintain the site and make it available for festivals and cultural events. It has also been the set for many films and TV shows. Number 5. Ragudi Vecchio. In the hills of the Calabria region in southern Italy lies the remains of a once thriving town called Ragudi Vecchio. Ragudi Vecchio used to be home to one of the last Greek-speaking communities in Italy. The Greeks colonized the area in the 8th century BC and the town in the 12th century, and all that remains today are a few Coke bottles and a pizza oven. There are no urns, relics, or century-old pieces of pottery to be found. The region of Calabria in which Ragudi Vecchio sits is in the toe tip of the boot of Italy. It was largely home to displaced Hellenic immigrants, which meant a revival in the Greek language at the time. Today, a few thousand Greek speakers remain. But even though there were plenty of people moving into the area, why did Ragudi become a ghost town? Well, the weather and a few mistakes by humans along the way. Over-harvesting of timber caused terrible erosion, which the area's winter rainstorms did nothing to help. Flooding in the 1970s left it uninhabitable, and most people left. Even though the village had been there for thousands of years, it was no longer fit for habitation by anyone. Number 4. Burj Al Babas. Many people have dreamed about living in a Disney-style castle. So why are 399 of them sitting empty in Turkey? A luxury housing development near Mudurnu in Turkey called Burj Al Babas was half completed in January 2019, when the developers Serhat Property Group went bankrupt. The construction of the chateau was underway in 2014, aimed at wealthy holidaymakers who wanted to set up a home away from home. While a handful of them were sold, the majority weren't, and several investors pulled out. The company that built the properties is around $25 million